Okay, so you should already have SAP GUI installed. If you do not have it installed, go ahead and follow the steps that we went through earlier to install SAP GUI. We'll launch the SAP logon. And now we'll be creating a new connection to our SAP server that's currently running. Click New. Next. And for a description, you can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call this SAP 7.52. And the application server is where you're going to be putting your IP address of your server. The instance number is 00. And the system ID, NPL. Click Finish. And now, in order to get connected, simply double click and you'll be launched into your SAP system. So the first thing we want to do is update our SAP license. So we'll log in with user SAP star with password download. And we'll be using a 1 instead of an L in all of our passwords. And I've created a list of the SAP users that you could potentially be using in your system. The only two I'd recommend using are SAP Star and Developer. SAP Star is your go-to user for all things administrative, and Developer is for all things that you build within SAP, like ABAP programs or SAP BW BI objects. So let's get started by logging in with SAP Star and password download. Click the green check and go to Transaction S License. We see that SAP has provided us with a couple temporary licenses, but there's an issue with these. They don't enable you out of the box to develop new programs and code. So we actually have to remove both of these licenses and grab a new one. So click the gray box, come up to Edit, and then Delete License. Once again, Edit, Delete License. And we'll need to go to the mini SAP site in order to update our license. So hop into Google and just search for mini SAP. The first result should be the go.support.sap.com/mini SAP site. From here, we'll scroll down until we find the NPL 7.x Sybase. We'll check that radio button and then continue scrolling and enter in your information. And the last bit of information that is crucial is the hardware key. And you'll get that from the S-License transaction. So go back into SAP, S-License, and then just copy your hardware key. Click Agree, I agree, and Generate. And then you'll see that an npl.txt file is created and downloaded to your machine. We can close out of the mini SAP window. And now the next step is to click on the Install New License button. Locate where your license was downloaded to. And click Open. If prompted to grant access, just go ahead and allow. And OK. You'll now notice that the license type has changed from temporary to permanent. This license is good for 90 days. So all we'll need to do is come back in 89 days from now and re-up our license. If you don't renew your license in time, you risk getting locked out of your system. So do make an effort to set a reminder and re-up your license. All right. So at this point in time, you can go ahead and log in using the developer user. So I'll just do a /NEX to exit out all sessions of SAP. And I'll log back in as the developer user. Again, using the download password. And as a developer, you have access to go to transaction SE80, for example, and create ABAP programs. And you might notice a whole lot of things going on down in the bottom left. And that's just because this is the first time SAP is running these transactions. So it has to generate all the underlying programs in order for you to actually access this content. This is a one and done though. It only happens once, and once those programs have been basically extracted out of SAP's repository, the next time you access that particular transaction, it'll be much faster. Okay, so if we click the drop down, choose program, we'll call our new program Z test, press enter. You can see that it does not exist. We'll create it. Yes. And if you hadn't re-upped your license, you would not be able to do this step. It would say, please enter a developer key. But because you went ahead and installed a new license, you're good to go. Create program. So at this point in time, you now have a fully functional SAP environment that you can develop in. If you wish to develop in BW, please continue watching, and I'll show you how to set up those particular configurations. All right, so if you wish to develop in BW, there's a couple of things we have to do before we can successfully become a BW developer within this environment. The first thing we need to do is go to transaction /n rstco_admin. And currently it shows the activation is successful for the BI content objects. However, it's always a best practice to just run it again to make sure everything truly was successful. Click Start Installation. And this will kick off a job called BI TCO activation. Click the green check. And as you can see, it's currently activating, so the job is running. We can monitor this job by going to /O to open up a new session, SM37. Click Execute. And we can see the BI TCO activation job. If we click it and then click on job log, we can see exactly where it is in its progress. And you could expect this program to run for about a half hour. So in the meantime, we can make another tweak to our hosts file on our computer here in order for us to maintain and manage master data bearing info objects. That now opens up in a browser versus historically, or it opened up in a GUI. /O RSA1. And as you can see, it's taking some time to load, and that's just because our system's so fresh out of the box. It's trying to activate so much at the same time, and it's trying to prioritize where it spends its resources. And obviously, getting itself up to speed is the priority. So while RSA1 is loading, let's minimize out of SAP. And we need to navigate to our hosts file on our computer. And that's going to be in the C Windows, System32, drivers, etc, and then the hosts file. So let's open up our C drive. Looks like RSA1 is starting. We'll just click the green check to let that keep going. So Windows, System32, drivers, etc, and then we have our hosts file. If we open this up in a notepad, we can see that this looks quite similar to the one that we had in Ubuntu, with one exception. If we make a new line by pressing enter and then attempting to save the file, save, it won't let you because you don't have permission by default to modify the hosts file. So what we need to do before we open this file is actually change its security preferences. So we'll right click, Properties, Security, and now we need to edit the permissions. Just make sure Allow is ticked across all of the various groups and users. Hit Apply. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and open this in Notepad. And once again, make a new line. And now we're going to be typing out the exact same line from step 3, which consists of our IP address, and then the VHCAL NPLCI, and the URL. So we can always just copy that, paste it in, and then we'll type in our IP address for our SAP server. All right, now if we try to save the file, choose yes, and again, it's still complaining about permissions. So I don't lose anything, I'm just going to copy this, close the file, and just verify that those settings did save. Properties, security, and it looks like the users did not get the allow permission. So just want to go back in there and make sure that those were checked. Hit apply, hit yes. All right, I think we're good to go now. Okay. Once again, opening in Notepad. Just pasting that line back in. Coming up to save. And as you can see, no prompt. It just saved without a problem. We'll close that. Close it again. And we'll go back into SAP. So we can see that our BI content activation is still running. Can refresh and see if it's made any progress. So for now, let's just close this window along with this one. And we'll log back in as a developer. And as you can see, it detects we're already logged in. So we can then continue with this login and end all other logins, or continue and just join the existing session that we already were on. So we'll do that. And now let's navigate to transaction RSA1. Click the green check. And then it's saying, do you want to see all this documentation? No, we're good. So click the do not show this again. And no, we don't want to see the documentation. And now we're in the SAP BW workbench. All right, so right here we can see some master data, the product info object, which is also an info provider. Can expand that. And we see attributes, hierarchies, and text. Let's right click on that object and then do maintain master data. So in previous versions of SAP, you'd actually then be launched into a GUI screen within SAP. And as of version 7.4, I believe, they now shoot you over to a browser window where all of this code runs instead of within SAP GUI. If you're prompted for settings, just use don't use recommended settings and hit OK. Close this out. Close it again. All right, so now we'll right click and maintain master data. And we can see that it's now loading a tab here, which is our SAP server. It's going to warn you and say, hey, this site's not secure. It's an SAP server. We're aware that it's ours. So we'll click more information and then go to the web page. And we can see the URL is pointing to our SAP system. And now it's prompting us to log in. So go ahead and do so. Click log on. Instead of SAP GUI, we're connecting with a browser. I'm not a big fan of how they transitioned all that master data management out of the GUI and into the web browser because it's a little bit more clunky, a bit prettier, but honestly, I do miss this interface. And the tab description is info object maintenance because when I right clicked on that object, we entered maintenance mode. And now we can see the maintenance window. So that's how you configure your hosts file to enable SAP to perform its normal actions that otherwise you wouldn't be able to do because you have to enable the connection between your browser and your SAP system. Close out of this. And before we wrap up, one more thing I want to show you is how you start and stop your SAP system. All right, so currently our system is up and running. We can connect to it, we get that. But if we wanted to stop the system, we have to type stop SAP, stop SAP, space all. And that brings down your SAP environment. However, you have to run this command as the npl-adm, application server npl administrator. Type su for switch user, and then npl-adm. You can see that right now we're running under the npl-adm user. And now if we type stop SAP all, we can see that it's currently shutting down the environment step by step. All right, so SAP is turned off currently. If we look back, we can see that we got kicked out of our server. And if we try to log back in, it's complaining, hey, I have nothing to connect to. To turn it back on, once again, under the same user, npl-adm, we'll type start SAP all. And just something to note, if you ever restart your Ubuntu server, you'll have to manually start your SAP environment, switching the user to npl adm, and then running start SAP all. All right, so that is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed setting up your very own SAP 752 environment in the cloud that you can access from absolutely anywhere now. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you.